Do I love fish? Cooking seafood can be quite a daunting thing, but it doesn't have to be. I'm a Michelin-star chef, and I'm going to take you step by step through little tricks how you can do this at home. My name is Hendrik from the Westhuizen, and welcome to my Checkers Master Something New Masterclass. I grew up on a farm and I didn't have access to beautiful fish and seafood all the time. My favorite fish, definitely tuna. We always had the tin tuna, and for me, tuna it's such a versatile fish, and I always think how healthy it is. If we would take, for example, salad niçoise, that's a typical dish from Nice. And I never knew that it started off with just being tomatoes and anchovies, but then over the time, people added tuna and green beans and egg and even potatoes. That was escoffier to bulk it up more. So we as South Africans love a good meal. We love a good portion. So we're going to do a nice and bulky salad niçoise. Let's start with the fish. Always defrost the fish at least the night before and take it out of the packaging. We always put it on a nice piece of kitchen towel, and that just keeps it nice and dry the night before. Perfect for whatever you want to do with it the next day. What I love about the tuna, this range especially, is that they're all single pole caught. So that means it's sustainable, and it just makes you feel better when you cook it as well, and eat it, of course. So this you can do two ways. Salad niçoise, some restaurants do a seared tuna steak. That's about 2-3 minutes on each side in a medium pan, or you can poach it, and that's what I'm going to do today. So just put it in on medium heat. You can always reuse this oil afterwards, so don't think it's a waste of olive oil and I'm not gonna use it again. There's an interesting thing that happens because now your fish is infused in the oil, and you can then use that maybe for salad dressings with a fish salad or something like that. So, medium heat, we're going to put the steaks inside. I'm going to add some fresh thyme. And remember, this is slow cooking, so in an oily base, the flavors are going to be such an explosion. And just 1 or 2 cloves of garlic. Don't stress about taking the skin off. We're going to strain the oil afterwards anyway. It just saves you time to get it done. And then we're going to move on to preparing the actual salad. While I'm at it, maybe a little confit lemon could be nice as well. And this could look beautiful on the plate. We always need to think about how we can plate food differently and how this dish can be more inspirational when you put it in front of somebody. It's not just a salad niçoise, it's your salad niçoise. And people will go, I want Susan's salad niçoise. So let's go for it. A little thin slice of lemon. We do about 3 or 4 portions. And we're going to drop that in the olive oil as well. Think ahead for your plating. That is a tip. Think of your carrier. Let's start looking for a plate that you see your salad on. That makes it easier for your whole process, and it makes it easier for choosing out the ingredients you want to use on it. You might go, it's going to be wood, or it's going to be Delft, or it's going to be ceramics. You can go both ways. You can do nice, beautiful, clean plates individually set already, or you can just do a huge plate in the middle. It's almost like family feast style. So I'm going to go with a big wooden plate. This is about for about 3-4 people. A little tip on making your wooden plates can quickly lose their oomph. I normally just take some olive oil while you're busy using it. And just give it a dash or two. And just give it its life back. You'll see how it changes its color and actually just comes back to life. So that's going to be our plate of choice. While we're doing the tuna, we're going to just boil some potatoes for a few minutes until they're soft. And then slice them nice and thin. Again, this is where you start thinking, how can we do it differently? How can you put your stamp on it and make it your salad niçoise? So let's think about it. Maybe we're going to do wedges. And then we can even dip them in. I'll show you now what I've got in mind. The nice thing about this dish is you can also prepare most of it well in advance and just keep it in your fridge right before lunch, early dinner, light supper. You can just slap together. These little ones, we're gonna take some time on the side. And potatoes and thyme sounds like a coffee shop name. Take the potatoes, while your oil is going, dip it in the oil, don't burn yourself, and then just crust it with the thyme. Start putting it on the plate. You can also use just normal temperature oil. You don't have to use the ones that's on the pot. There's automatically some oil on the plate already, so it becomes easier and easier. Of course, the next step or a nice tip is to take some beautiful molten salt or any grainy, flaky salt. Mix that with your herbs and it becomes a crust on its own. Add some pepper. And we're crusting these beautiful little potatoes. I know, for example, my mother, when it comes to plating, she falls apart. She cooks the most delicious food, but then she thinks, oh, it's easier for everybody to just go to the pots and help themselves. And this is where we all take it step by step and just play with your food. Fabulous. Okay, let's move on to what Monsieur Escoffier, and that's a very fancy name for a French chef, but he added the green beans. I remember just having to chop the green beans, all the ends and buckets full of it. My grandfather used to plant so many. So just a hand or two of green beans, put it in some salted boiling water. We're gonna not overcook them. We want them to be nice and crunchy and green. But the secret to this is finishing it off with a dash of butter. Just at the end, so it's reducing the last flavors into the bean with butter. Don't try using your fingers at home. Only Michelin star chefs can do that. While we're waiting for the beans, slice your olives into beautiful little circles. To have a beautiful plate of food, prepare yourself. Read the recipe like you would read a book at night before. And it makes your life so much more fun and easy. Little circles of olives, those we're gonna now drop onto the potatoes. South Africans have a way of thinking, we need to eat these massive plates of food and heavy and full. You can still have your portion of food, trust me. The beans are great. We're now gonna add the butter. Process with a phase, just 2 or 3 blocks of butter. You can use olive oil as well. Don't feel you need to go with butter. And eat while you cook, people. That's the best part. Great. While that's going, boiled eggs. We all love a good boiled egg. Now, don't think like we normally think, how you cut an egg. Look at your egg as an object almost, rather than just an egg. This is the creative side that you need to force, and everybody is creative. You just need to find the right angle of the egg. So cutting it halfway, we want to show the egg yolk nice and ooey and perfect cooked. This was about 4 minutes. I'm gonna go half. And half again. Perfect. Let's start grouping up the plate. So putting 4 little sections, making it easier for dishing up. Individually treating each egg with a little bit of black pepper and a dash of salt. Okay. Now the green beans. I'm going to start spreading that out. Getting height on your plate is really important. Gives the plating a real organicness to it, a nice feel. It looks like the vegetables are straight from your garden. People go on about, that's my good side. So does a bean. Think of its good side and let it lean against its good side and find its own comfort. This is the tuna, beautifully cooked. I cooked this tuna for about 14, 15 minutes. Remember these beauties we cooked in the olive oil. We're gonna now slice them as well. Maybe quarters, even 2/4 of the slice. Now the fun part starts. You can either break the tuna or you can slice it. It really depends on you. Don't get confused with seared tuna niçoise salad, because that you can also do. I like to cook it slightly over well done, and it then breaks up and it can really crunch and go into the salad. That's the traditional way for a niçoise salad. But there's no rules. You can do your own, and to sear it for about 3-4 minutes on each side, that's also a fabulous way to serve it. Just placing these all over the plate. I'm becoming such a big fan of frozen fish because it's accessible, it's in your freezer, it's just right there when you need it. You don't need to be going to the market every morning to find the fish. Just make sure that you defrost it very well. And of course, it needs to be from Checkers. A little bit of drama and beauty to the plate. So the dressing we haven't started with, and that's the fun part. I'm going to show you how to make a beautiful niçoise dressing. Use color and contrast. The black on the yellow. Some capers. Just a few slices of tomato. The beauty of this tuna is also that they are individually pole caught and vacuum packed. It's so convenient. I'm doing this beautiful salad dressing in a decanter, but it also sometimes doesn't go right. So the mustard's clogged up in the neck and then stopped with honey. Use a green bean, work its way through, and this is your appetizer as well. Oh, good. Some fine-rose honey. Some lemon juice, beautiful olive oil that's made from the olives grown on the Breda River. Dash of Prosecco vinegar, and this is washing down everything, as you can see. Boof. Who's your uncle? Jan is your uncle. Shake this up. Keep it in the fridge, put a beautiful lid on it, and it's salad dressing in style. Okay. No niçoise salad is done without some fresh basil. And then the dressing. Next up, we're doing salmon. I love salmon, and I think it's a very important thing to know, again, where does your fish come from? Where does your product come from? This is hand cut, it's sustainably sourced, and that is so important for me as a chef. At all my restaurants, all the food needs to be sustainably sourced. I love the fact that salmon is so flaky, and it's so quick to cook. It just goes into the pan, it's just whoosh, whoosh. And then you've got it nice and pink in the middle. It's a meaty fish, but it's got all those good and rich, oily nutrients in it. Firstly, again, we need to make sure that this fish is well defrosted. So the night before, take it out, again, put it on some paper, kitchen roll, let it rest. Just look at this beautiful colors, and you can see the quality that goes in there. Glass of wine to start with, and then of course, I'm a believer of mixing white and red with chicken or fish. There's no more rules, and in today's life, it's about your own pleasures. So for me, the oiliness of salmon, the richness really complements a nice red. Okay. The way I'm going to do the salmon today is it's actually a very old way. It's a way that you can do in the middle of the week, and it's going to feel like you're actually at a restaurant yourself. That's so simple to cook, but so beautiful. It's en papillon, or en papillote, as ons dit nou so uitspreek. Saumon en papillon. It's a cooking term that's really using any parchment paper, or you can use any aluminium foil. It's pretty much cooking the food with steam with its own juices inside. And what I love about this is that the presentation, again, it's family, it's orientated to share with people, or you can just do 6 plates if you want. I'm going to do an individual portion for 2 people. So that's 2 slices of the hand-cut salmon. And we don't need to sear it. All you need for this is literally your bowl or your pan, make sure it's oven-proof, and some parchment paper. So we're talking about carriers all the time, and this is going to be your carrier. And remember, as much as it's your cooking method, it's also part of the dish at the end, and it's how you present it. We want to just unfold this in front of the guest. So folding it to the size of your plate, and then going in half, because we want to cover it. There we go. So that's it. We can put that aside. Guys, this is going to take 5 minutes, and that's the beauty of this. First, we're going to do some onions as a base. Some basic vegetables called the mirepoix, or just a fancy name for vegetable gardens. It's carrots, leeks, fennel, anything that you can really get your hands on. That provides a base flavor for this dish, or for most dishes, in fact. Cutting your onion into just nice and big chunks. Don't go too fine, otherwise it's just going to become all messy and soggy. And that's the last thing you want with this dish. You want texture, and you want to taste the flavors of the salmon coming through. So just half an onion goes on here. I'm breaking them up. I'm going to grab a few carrots. Again, I'm not even taking the carrot tips off. I just wash them. I use my hands to roughly grind the carrots under running water quickly like that. Takes off all the dirt. Slice the carrots in half. Thinly cut fennel. Not that thin, just halved. I'm going to do actually 2 of those. Some baby spinach. I'm going to make some little spots for these so they don't take over the show. And then herbs. Some basil, mint, and a little bit of chives. We all need to have coconut milk in your cupboard always. So I'm going to go the chivy, basil, coconut milk, slightly naughty way. It's not really, because there's a goodness in all of that, but then the freshness of the mint cuts through all of it. and then it really brings the fish to life. Make sure your salmon is nice and dry, skin especially. It's just by tapping that. Presentation. A few slices on the skin, not too much, just to kind of bring through that beauty of the pink and the grey and the black showing. Give it a slight fold open and place it on top in the middle. Second one. Some good seasoning happening here, especially on the fish. A little bit on the veg. I'm anyway going to add a bit of lemon juice. I think that adds very nice flavor with the coconut milk. If you want, you can add lime. You can even go as far as adding a little bit of white balsamic. The same lemon you just used for the juice, just cut it up into pieces and drop it in there as well. And the other one that's left over, the half, just grind it for additional on top of the salmon. Don't lose this, that's gin and tonic hour. Okay, next up, we're gonna do a little bit of chives. I keep the chives whole. Some coconut milk. Don't put it on top of the fish, but rather at the bottom. Oh, and these I found as well. Some sweet, tender broccoli stems, the baby ones. Just push them in wherever you want. Now closing this, making sure that you totally close off the packet. Otherwise, we're going to lose the steam. That's what's cooking. On papillote, or that fancy word we keep using, is perfect for chicken or proteins or even just vegetables if you just want to throw it in the oven. And as I said earlier, it's perfect for midweek when you just don't want to go out feels like you're dining in at home. And just because I love beautiful things and good smells, tucking in some fresh herbs just under this little layer will escape while you bake it. So when your loved one comes home, they know what to expect. Next up, we're doing rainbow trout. This is something that is also incredibly sustainable. It is hand-cut, pre-vacuumed. It's fabulous, defrosted beforehand once again. And we're doing it a very French way today with a sauce vierge. Very fancy word, but that's just pretty much a tomato and olive oil reduction. So to get the tomatoes, again, step backwards, think ahead. Your sauce needs to be ready when your fish is. This fish is so delicate and thin that by the time it's cooked, your sauce needs to be ready. So take a tomato, preferably nice and big ones. Just do a little cross on the back, like that. And it goes into a pot of boiling water for 30 seconds. Poof, 2 is enough. And we'll take that out with very carefully after 30 seconds to peel the skin off and to de-seed the tomatoes. You can already see how the skin is literally coming off the tomato. While you're having this, a facial is always a good idea. Drop your tomatoes in a little bit of ice water just to stop the cooking process immediately. The skin naturally comes off, and this is the part where some people would just throw the skin away. I love to put this on some wax paper in the oven for a few hours for about 50-40 degrees, and it dries out into crispy leaves, and that goes beautiful as garnish on as well. De-seeding the tomatoes. This is all really the fancy way of doing it. If you don't want to go this route, it's also fine. But there's technique in going the extra mile, and there's a reason why we do it. It just really adds flavor and it changes the dish at the end. The seeds would go into my Bloody Mary, and that's my cocktail for the day. Amazing to see what we're creating here is pretty much fillets of tomato, and it's going to be really easy then to slice them up into perfect little blocks. Perfection is one thing in a Michelin star restaurant, but at home, you can cut your tomatoes any way you want. Okay, that's done. To make the sauce, add some olive oil in a little saucepan. Don't be shy. Remember, this is your base of the sauce. We're not using any other fat except a few blocks of butter, and that's going to add creaminess to it. Then a hand or two full of the tomato, which we just sliced and diced. A little bit of olive. If you don't like olives, you can skip this and add capers or clove of garlic. Just squash it in and push out the little meat pieces. And very carefully in your hand, go and slice out the lemon segments. This is when you bite into the sauce, you're going to have the surprise of nice soury acidity coming through. Sauce vierge, don't overcook it, don't let it boil too long. You just want it to bubble a little bit. You don't want these tomatoes to go into a shakalaka. Before it gets to that point, we're going to add just 2 or 3 blocks of butter. Cubed beforehand, and that's adding the little bit of richness to the sauce and finish it off. Chives. I think a dash of honey would be nice, just to bring it a little bit of sweetness. And we'll leave this for later. Taking the trout, very important that we go for a sustainable option. Slice a little piece of parchment paper or wax paper, as most South Africans know it. Put it in a pan. This is, if you have a non-stick pan, this could be fantastic as well, but this just really helps to make sure it doesn't stick to the pan. Now, little potatoes, you can use big ones as well, doesn't matter. You want to cut this immediately and then put it on top of the fish. So very thinly as possible, get your sharpest knife. Slice the potatoes into thin slices. And then immediately right onto the skin, just start sticking it, almost like scales. That's the idea of this dish. Little piece of butter and some olive oil going in there. Perfect. Let's leave that for a few minutes. So the potatoes are ready, nice and crisp. We're now gently using a spatula and flipping it around. You don't want the trout to overcook. So this is 20 seconds. You still want it nice and pink in the middle. That'll be very quick. Trust me, once you've got this dish mastered, you're gonna do it every time for a dinner party. While in the pan, we're still adding a little bit of salt and pepper. Some lovely asparagus, dash of butter, a little bit of olive oil, and some lemon juice. That's going to be our greens for this. While the asparagus is going, you can take your trout out of the pan because we've got heat still coming out of it, and you don't want that heat to overcook the trout. And this juice is also lovely. It's a little bit of oil, a little bit of fishiness, and it's got that lovely potato starchy flavors that's going into the asparagus. A quick saute of asparagus, and then that goes onto the plate. So now the plating. First, we're going to do the sauce vierge. That's going slap bang in the middle of the plate. Then we're taking our trout, going on top of that, crispy side top, and then you've got your asparagus. And then side. Starting with the bottom of the stem, you just start stacking the asparagus. Those dry tomato skins, which is going to be lovely, and dashes of color on the side. It also brings the element of height to the plate, which is really, really nice. Fish is healthy. You can eat it every day of the week. In fact, that's how I eat back in Nice. Mondays is my meat days, and the rest of the week is fish. So, ladies and gentlemen, sauce à la vierge de truite. That's just trout with sauce vierge. Bon appétit! Now, just when you thought you knew everything and saw everything or tasted everything, one of the greatest treasures of the ocean, in the same family as the oyster and the mussel, I present to you the scallop. Very important, take them out the night before and let them defrost in your refrigerator. These beautiful babies are about 80% protein. They're some of the cleanest seafood you can get. They're also incredibly low in sodium and very low in fat, which makes them the perfect either canapé or starter. In Afrikaans, we call them kammossels. And that beautiful shape of the scallop reminds me of those hair clips the 60s and 80s were so famous for. Scallop is something that is so unique, and it's something you don't make every day, but now you can. It's a one-pan dish, and you need to have wonderful bread with it to finish up the sauce and the butteriness afterwards. So specially selected, this is wild caught, and it's very important to remember that and look for that on the products that you buy. It's also giving you, it's ready to cook, so you don't need to cut it or trim it, so it's not complicated, people. First things first, we've got our pan, add a few cubes of cold butter, and that's just gonna melt down, and we're gonna start this beautiful buttery sauce. A few capers for some acidity and salt, a little bit of black pepper, and then some lemon juice. Just a small squeeze. You want to get your butter a little bit almost nutty and brown before we start searing the scallops. Not to overcook these beauties are so important. It's literally a sear in the pan, and then they go straight there. I love trying new ingredients, and this is one of them. You're gonna see, once you've tried it, it's gonna be your pull out the hat type of dish. So, our butter is getting nice and color there. Back at Jan, we get big boxes of these coming in the shell, and we literally just take it out ourselves. So the comfort that you've got is incredible. They're already taken out. It's the most beautiful, sweet little thing. And with acidity, salt and pepper, and a bit of butter, we've kept the best for last. Okay, we're getting a little bit of brown edge on the pan. That's the time when this goes in. One by one, just drop them in. We're playing with time here, people, so very quickly. Keep an eye on these, otherwise they're gonna get tough. You don't want that. You just want them to be nice and seared on each side, and then they're perfect. While this is going on, I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. I'm gonna start flipping them around. They're ready. And as simple as that, we're serving it with some just bread. Turn off the heat immediately. Warm bread out of the oven. And this is our scallops. The sweetness and the delicateness of this dish is going to make you really want to do it again and again. Seafood, freshwater fish, shellfish, all of this in a nutshell. Thank you for joining me today, and I promise you, if you do not eat well, drink well, sleep well, you cannot live well.